Thank you for watching our broadcast. We hope that
you don't have to panic. We are merely here to save the planet. We won't be complacent in this damage. This is vital information, take advantage.
I'm Terrell Jackson, the pastor of the Macedonia Baptist Church of Bel Air Cove, just outside of Ville Platte, Louisiana. We may be just a little difficult to find, but when you get here, you'll realize you're right at home. The mission of our church is the same mission Jesus gave over 2,000 years ago, and that's to reach the lost for his kingdom. We hope you're encouraged by today's gospel presentation because it's tailor-made for you. If you're a regular with us, you already know about our mobile app and its many resources. If you're new to us, go to our website, and there you can learn more about us. You can also go to the link that says, I'm new, tell us more about you. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our lives are super busy. And just in case you miss us on Sundays in our live stream, on Wednesdays in our Bible exploration, you can go to our website or to our mobile app, and there you can find all of our previous sermons or Bible studies. At Macedonia, we have a motto where we say we love you to life. So come to Macedonia and experience the life-transforming power of the Word of God, and you'll see why we love you to life. Good evening, and thank you for joining us once again at the Macedonia Baptist Church back in beautiful Bel Air Cove. I'm so excited. Man, I'm excited about tonight's lesson. I'm so glad that you're here with me again.
I'm glad to be here.
I missed you.
Oh, I miss being here with you.
Sister Tawana did a great job of filling in on last week. I'm always happy to have her. She's a great spirit, but I'm really so glad to be with you again.
Be here.
On tonight, tonight's conversation comes from the book of Ruth. Me looking at Ruth for a few weeks, and we're going to start off when we're talking about Ruth chapter number 1. We're looking at verses 6. Then we're going to jump down to 10 through 19, talking about the right choice, about making, the right choice. But man, before we get into talking about making the right choice, last night we have our advanced Bible study. It's on Zoom. If you don't have our mobile app, go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, download our app, Macedonia Baptist Church of Bel Air Cove, MBC BLC. You can search and find it. And that way you can get our push notifications. When we send out the push notifications weekly, there's a link where you can join us on Tuesday evenings where we have some really good conversations, in-depth conversations about whatever our weekly meditation is. And so I want to invite you all to join us for that. But we shared some fun facts last night when we were on.
We
did. Some fun facts about the book of Ruth. So tell us what you learned about the book of Ruth, some fun facts there.
One thing I learned is that Naomi was her single mother.
Yes.
I never actually thought about that.
Right.
As many times as I have read the book of Ruth, never stopped to think about that when she lost her 2 sons, she's the first one
lost her husband.
I mean, you said single parent. Yes, I'm sorry.
Single mother.
When her husband died,
right.
She was a single mother to 2 sons.
Right.
Yeah.
For about 10 years.
Yes.
She was not just about Naomi, but also for me, Ruth and her sister-in-law being converts. They, to me, were like the first, some of the first converts to Judaism, which was quite interesting for me in picking up on that.
So the book of Ruth is one of 2 books named for women.
Right. Esther being the other one. What I thought was interesting, of course, when you think about this modern world that we live in, women being bosses, of course, that's what they call themselves now. I'm a boss. Ruth was the first woman in Scripture that pursued her husband and also proposed to him. So that was kind of one of those modern
Ruth
things
is
that
my
we do now. Yeah. So listen, before we, and as we get into this story, about Ruth, man, there's just some things when you think about her being a shero. She's also her story. The entire book of Ruth is read annually at a festival or a feast that they have called Shabbat. The Jews, they read this story, and it happens around the springtime, the spring harvest, where they read this story over and over every year, and they've done so for a very, very long time. So the Jewish people are very, very familiar. And so what we hope to do tonight is, and over the next few weeks, is get those who come to share with us familiar with the story of Ruth and the implications and some of the little sidebar things that are going on inside the book of Ruth. So to bring you up to speed of where we are when we pick up at verse number 6, Elimelech, who was Ruth's husband, he's from a place called, or from what Ruth says is Bethlehem, Judah. Bethlehem means house of bread. Judah means praise. And there's this famine in the land, and they move to greener pastures, or what they think are greener pastures, because of this famine that is in the land. While they're there, they have 2 sons, and Elimelech's wife's name is Naomi.
Yes.
Which becomes she's one of the main characters in the story in the book of Ruth. But Elimelech dies, and now Naomi becomes a single mother. Mm-hmm. And she raises these 2 boys, mm-hmm. and while they're there for a period of about 10 years, these boys married 2 girls. One's name is Orpah, and the other's is the namesake of the book that we're reading. Her name is Ruth. And so now, then, over the course of time, these 2 boys, they die. Mm. And so now we've got in the space of 5 verses, yes, we've got 3 widowed women.
We have there's a lot of tragedy. Yes. This story, right, reminds us that life can deal you a bad hand sometimes.
Yeah. So I want y'all to come back on Sunday, because we're going to talk about the downside of life.
Yes. Yes.
So come on back Sunday. We'll talk about the downside of life. But then, so when we get to verse number 6, now they're having to make what we're talking about tonight, the whole theme surrounding about what we're talking about tonight, and that is making a choice. So pick up at verse 6.
Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread.
I think this is something that I think everyone needs to understand. And if you want to share anything about God, anything about what it means to be faithful, devoted, mm-hmm. give your life to Christ, I think what everybody needs to know is that God always provides bread in his house. Not necessarily say he could provide it in your house, but he always provides bread in his house. And so what they decide is that they're going to return to the house of bread.
Yes.
And I think if you're going to make a choice, whether life takes you up, your ups and certainly your downs of life, make the choice. If you're going to return anywhere, return to the house of God.
Yes, because David reminds us that he's never seen the righteous forsaken, nor the seed of the righteous begging for bread. Now, what we have to remember is that God is not limited by circumstances on the earth. So the earth may have been experiencing a famine, but God can still provide in the midst
Yeah.
of a famine. We learned that from Joseph's story.
Right, not just Joseph's story, but we saw it in the life of Elijah
Yes.
and Elisha. That
Yes.
whenever
And
others
Isaac,
and
who was who prospered in the midst of a famine.
And so, and God does it, but you have to be in God's space.
Yes.
In the space of God.
Well,
and that's what this is. And
David did say the righteous.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. So now let's pick up at verse number 10, because making the right choice in these choices, and we're going to find out that there are choices to be made. So in verse number 10.
And they said to her, surely we will return with you to your people.
So it's after they've died and they've decided that they've all decided that they're going, well, surely we're going to. So what I see is that initially both girls make the same choice. And I want to say to people that there are going to be people who are going to start out with you.
Yes.
But they might not finish.
Yes.
That there are always good people who have good intentions. And it happens even when you know, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a friendship, that we all have, I believe that they had great intentions of going all the way. And they did that because they loved their mother-in-law.
Yes, they did.
And I mean, when you read it, you could see the passion and the feelings that they had for her. And then we're also going to see, as we continue to read, how she felt about them.
Yes, and that's something, you know, how practically this story is a good model for me, who has, you know, a daughter-in-law. Because, you know, when you stop and think about, you get a sense that Naomi was more of a mother to them than a mother-in-law. And I think that is something noteworthy, because oftentimes, you know, I would like to be the kind of mother-in-law that when people see me and my daughter, who I call my daughter, I don't use the term daughter-in-law, that our relationship is such that they don't know that she's not my daughter by blood. And I think that's what the sense you get from this.
Yes, and I want us to read this and see that right now she's about to help them make a choice, because they've decided that the both of them have decided that they're going to go. Now, I want us to put it in context. These girls are not from where she is.
No, they're not.
They went to Moab, and these are Moabite women.
That's right.
And so they're saying that, and all they know is Moab, which
culturally was very different from where Naomi was from.
Very much so. And so because of how they feel about her, they said, we're going to go back with you, because she's grieving. Read 11, 12, and 13.
But Naomi said, turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Would you restrain yourselves from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me.
So she says the hand of the Lord has gone out against me, but it has affected them.
Yes, it has.
And so what she is doing is she's giving them advice. She's giving them this motherly advice about what it is that they should do. And if I wanted to impress upon anyone, all those who would be watching and listening, is that if you're going to make right choices, you got to learn to connect with someone who's going to give you wise counsel, good godly counsel,
advice,
for helping to make the right choices.
Absolutely.
We don't always know what the right choices are, but here it is, Naomi, because of her life's experience, she knows what it is. She's an aged woman, and she knows what it would be for these young girls, especially going back to where they're going to find a husband.
Mhm.
She also knows that things are different where she's from. It's not the way for them to get a husband because they married into Judaism. They would have to take husbands from the family of Elimelech.
That's correct.
And so she knew how challenging that would be. And so when she asked the question, this has everything to do with what they call Levirate laws.
Mhm.
And so we're not going to get too much into that. I think we talked about that a few lessons back. But what she says is that even if I were to, I'm old, I can't have any
Mhm.
children. And even if I were to get pregnant tonight, are y'all going to wait
Yes.
till these?
I like she said, would you restrain yourself? What she's saying is, y'all are young women. You got needs, physical needs.
Yeah.
Are you gonna wait that long? Are you gonna refrain from, fulfilling those physical desires until my sons are grown? We talking about. In essence, she's saying, you gonna wait that long? And she's like, I don't want you to have to bear that.
And listen, and when she follows up by saying that, God is against me, life can make you feel like that.
Yes.
Like life can make you feel like God is not on your side.
Yes.
But I want to reassure everyone that God is not against us.
No.
When things happen like this in our lives, it's really God trying to push us, funnel us to the place that He would want us to be so that He could bless us. And oftentimes we stay in places of disobedience too long. When you look at this story as a whole, they were only supposed to go to Moab
until the famine was
the famine was over. They were there beyond 10 years.
They stayed too long.
And so the father dies who made the choice to go there. We talk about making the right choice. Then the sons stayed there, making the wrong choice. The wages of sin is still death. And when we're outside of where God would have us to be, sometimes we experience the wages of sin.
Mhm.
And so it's very, very important for us to make sure that we're in the space that God, making the right choices so that we could be in the space that God would have us to be. And that has to do with connecting yourself with people who can help you make better choices. 14 and 15 for us.
Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law."
This right here was a question that we posed on last night. And the question was, so who do you think made the right choice? Ruth has said, "I'm coming with you."
Yes.
Orpah, she kisses Naomi and says, "Well, I'm."
She said, "I don't think I can restrain myself."
I don't think
That
that's
low.
Who do you think? So it's the question, like, who do you
yes.
think made the right choice?
I think they both did.
I would agree with you.
I think they both made the right choice. And also, you mentioned about sometimes we want to hold on to people that make a choice to disconnect or leave us.
Right.
And when we do that, then it may be that you're hindering your own progress, your own purpose, because that person, the season is over
Right.
for them to be in your life. And you have to learn to let people go. When they walk away, when they leave, you have to learn to let them go.
You do. And sometimes we get in our feelings
Yes.
because, people have walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that's one of the things that I verbalized that a few months ago or a month or so ago, that I had to learn to be okay when people were okay without me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough thing, but
It
you
is.
also have to allow people to go and flow into to what their purpose is.
Yes.
I would love to believe, and because I agree with you that I think she made the right choice also. I'd like to think that Orpah went on to live a wonderful life. I like to think that, because what I know is that Naomi prayed for her, that she would go on and that she would do great things. And her prayer Ruth was a good God-fearing woman. So I'm certain that her prayer was answered.
You mean Naomi was?
Naomi. I'm sorry. That Naomi's prayer was answered, and that Orpah went on to find another husband, and that she went on to live a wonderful life and raise a wonderful family, simply because of the prayer for Naomi. Naomi wanted something good for her. And so I would say to people, when people walk out of your lives, don't wish bad on them.
That's right. Yes, send them with a blessing.
Send them with a blessing. Let them go and find out, and find the best of what God has for them.
And if they were meant to come back in your life, they'll come back.
That's right. 16, 17, and 18.
But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her.
Naomi, when Ruth shares her convictions with Naomi, Naomi could feel her heart.
Yes.
Man, this girl, well, there's no more talking to her.
There's nothing I can say.
There's nothing I can say. Our convictions are what we believe. And when you think about Ruth being converted to Judaism, she was converted to become a follower of the living God.
The living God, yes.
And she is sharing from her heart what it is that she believes. She says, not only am I going to go where you go, but the people that you grew up with are going to be my people. And then most importantly, you see her conversion. Your God is going to be my God. That's the conversion process. And we've got to be with people that are going to help us with our convictions. Because some of us, we verbalize it, but we don't go with them where they go. There's some people we say, I hear people say it to us, you and I, all the time. Oh, y'all doing such a great job. Oh, we got a good first lady. We've got a good pastor. But they don't always go where we go. And so it makes me wonder, are we really and truly convicted about our convictions about God? So is my God their God, or is it another God that they serve? Right. Because you heard me say it, and I said it the other night, and it's my conviction. When I say I love the people of Macedonia to life, I've said it openly that when I die, I'm going to be buried here. There are others who say, well, I'm going back home or going someplace like Joseph, who say, listen, don't leave my bones here. Take them away.
Yeah.
I've said about these people here that because of my convictions about being here, I'm here on an assignment from God. And unless God says something altogether different, where, like Naomi says, where y'all die, I'm going to die. And I'm I'm going to be buried. Those convictions that you have, people ought to really, like Naomi, they ought to feel that.
Yes.
And there should be no more conversation about it.
Yes.
There should be like she was like, well, I can't convince her otherwise to do something different. So our convictions are what we believe, and you have to believe something so strongly. Yes. You have to believe in God so strongly that when somebody comes to try and talk about your God or talk against your people,
yes,
that you ought to be, they can't move you off of that spot.
That's right.
but we hear so much negativity, and sometimes doubt springs in. When I'm reading this about what Ruth is saying, there's no doubt. And Ruth didn't grow up in Sunday school.
No, she did.
Ruth didn't grow up in church. She didn't grow up with this God.
That's
like
right.
Naomi did.
That's right.
She was converted.
Yes, she was.
And so her conversion is something that we can sense, that we can feel. Do people feel like that about you? And certainly when you talk about our convictions, about what we believe, our convictions is what governs our choices.
It does.
And so our choices are our testament to our conversion. So now, when I see what you're doing, like there are some people who say they love God, but I don't see them doing the things of God. I don't see them active or like have left everything. This is an example of leaving it all to follow Christ.
Yes, that's right.
This is
Forsaking all.
Forsaking all to follow Christ. I see us say that, but I don't see that conviction, that the choices.
Yeah, and it's similar to the decision or the choice that Ruth made to leave everything she knew behind to connect with Naomi, to go to a place she had never been, and to live among people she never knew before.
Right.
And isn't that similar to what it is when we come into the family of God? Oftentimes, sometimes we do have to leave our own family members, but then we connect with another family.
Yes.
A family of sisters and brothers in Christ. And people that we didn't grow up with, but we become closer to them than we are sometimes to the people that we grew up in the same house and were born of the same mother.
Right.
But that's God's design for bringing together an entire nation, of people of all creeds, colors, and background. Because that's what it's going to look like in heaven.
It is.
And so if we can't connect with people down here who, don't look like us or don't have the same, cultural background, how we expect to get to heaven?
Right, exactly.
Because we know from the Bible that up in heaven, there's going to be people from every nation, every tongue.
Right.
So this is a beautiful story.
Yeah, it is. And so our choices really are a testament of our conversion, whether or not we've been converted. But then how can others tell if we've been of our convictions and our conversions? Look, whether or not they're real or not. Read verse number 19.
Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem. And it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city was excited because of them. And the women said, "Is it Naomi?"
So how you can tell is that, number one, first, your conversion has to have an impact on you. And like your convictions people ought to see you differently. And so when they say, "Is this Naomi?" and they see her now differently than when she left. And your impact has to be on others. They had an excitement about
yes, they did.
That when
they came back,
yes, the impact was on, had caused excitement.
In the
but
entire
not only that, but over the entire city.
Yes.
So not only your impact has to be the evidence of your conviction and your conversion has to be on you and on others, but also on the community. How are you impacting the community? And one thing I say about the church here at Macedonia is that if we were to leave, if the church were to burn to the ground, if there was a tornado that came and swooped us up while we were in here and worshiping, and everybody were to go to heaven to be with God in the church, and nothing was left here, would the community miss us? So there's got to be evidence that this is the house of bread.
Yes.
That if we're no longer here, that the community starves.
Yes.
in some way without us.
Yes.
And so we've got to have, the choices that we make as a church and as a community has to have an impact
Yes.
on, has to be far reaching.
Yes, it does.
Just on this corner where we are,
Yes.
as well as the entire community
Absolutely.
of Bel Air Cove.
We are to be the light, the city that sits on a hill.
Right.
Yes.
And that centers around all of us making the right choices. Now, I want to thank y'all for joining us. But before you leave, give you an opportunity to give. Go to Cash App, go to our mobile app in Subsplash Giving, and make sure that you make a contribution towards our scholarship fund. Make sure that in Cash App that you put it in the memo section and in our mobile app and Subsplash, that you click the drop down that says it is for our scholarship so that we can help some young person further their education. Before you leave, we want to pray for those gifts. Father in heaven, we thank you for those who are giving and giving so freely. We ask, God, that you would bless the gifts, bless the giver. Let it be used for the building of your kingdom, that you may be praised, honored, and glorified. But most importantly, let your word that goes forth on tonight settle in the good grounds of someone's heart, that we not continually sin against you, and that you will be glorified, honored, and praised in all that we do. We ask these and other blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. It is Shout Out Wednesday. Thank you, Sister Verna Fontenot. We know we see you. You are usually here week after week. Thank you. Sister Savona Bellard. Shout out to you. Sister Nella Poulard. Shout out to you, my sister. Sister Michelle Lamel. And I think
we got I think Sister Mona Johnson is also watching. So glad to have you with us on tonight. So great that you have decided to join in with us. Be encouraged in the Lord. And as we thank those of you who are watching via YouTube for watching us, come on back and join us on next week and also on Sunday. And as always, we love you to life.